Today, it's easier now than ever to get answers to your questions due to the resources that we've got literally at our fingertips. If you want to know which lead to connect to your car battery, first of all, Google it. Bam, you've got your answer. If you were wondering what temperature and how long for do I put my McCain's hash browns into the air fryer for, bam, Google it. You've got your answer. It's 200 degrees for 12 minutes. Delicious. Unless your question is, will West Ham sack Lopetegui? Good luck getting that answer. There's a lot of guesswork out there in the world of West Ham today. Some are reporting that he will be sacked, just not today. They might do it tomorrow, they might do it the day after, but he's definitely getting sacked. Some claiming he's already been sacked, they're just keeping it secret for some reason. They don't say why they're keeping it secret, but shh, he's been sacked, but don't tell anyone. Others, and the majority, and arguably the most reliable, are reporting that there's a meeting on Friday, and within that meeting, they will decide the future of Lopetegui. Some say David Sullivan is finally considering sacking Lopetegui, but the next man must have Premier League experience. And others are stating that Tim Steidten has a couple of candidates he really likes, but one condition he's got is that their surname must contain at least one accent. That last bit's not true. I've made that. No one's claiming that. I've just made it up. But good luck today, because West Ham news is a minefield. And you get reminded, as a consumer today, you get reminded that those that put the news out there, their number one priority is to be the first one to claim it. Not accuracy. That is irrelevant. They don't care about that. It's being the first person to claim he was sacked, so they could say, told you he was sacked. Yeah, but he got sacked 1 month later. No, it was secret. Shh, they sacked him, just didn't tell anyone. It doesn't matter, he got sacked on the 13th of January. I called it back on the 4th of December. Anyway, fun and games to one side. Well, it's not really. More's coming up. I'm going to guess. I'm now going to join them and I'm going to start guessing. But don't worry, I'm not going to tell you what I think the news is. I'm going to, having waded through the news today, and I've got a phrase that I often trot out in videos and comments of videos, and that is, it all depends on what you read and who you believe. Because the reality is, hardly any of us know the truth about anything when it comes to your football club. Who really wanted to sign Carlos Soler? We don't really know. We all have an opinion. Right now, you've gone Lopetegui or you've gone Tim Steidten. You've done one of the two. But we don't really know. You form your own opinion depending on who and what you believe. And that's exactly what we're all doing today. We read from who we trust and form an opinion off the back of it. And what you're away to hear from me is my guesswork as a prediction rather than a news. I'm not telling you this is the truth. This is just what I think is a way to occur. And I believe that there's a meeting on Friday. The reason I believe that is because it's been reported by the more reliable people that is what is a way to happen. And second of all, it just makes sense. And usually the thing that makes sense can often be the one that's correct. And there's two reasons that I believe this makes the most sense. Reason number one. Now, reason number two is the big reason, but in the sake of anticipation, we'll start with reason number one. And that is the amount of voices at West Ham, the amount of people that have a say in this decision now. If you go back just 2-3 years ago, it would have been David Sullivan, David Gold, Karen Brady. That was it. They chose the manager. When they sacked Pellegrini and brought David Moyes back, it was those three. That was all. Just them three. Today, obviously we've got David Sullivan. Tim Steidten has some form of say, because that was confirmed in the summer. He was involved in interviewing Lopetegui. Ruben Amorim flew over. That wasn't David Sullivan's doing, that was Tim Steidten's. So he's got some, he might not have the final decision, but he's got a voice. And then we've got Daniel Kretinsky. Naive me, 6-8 months ago, didn't think Kretinsky did much at West Ham. I thought it was a bit of a hands-off thing. He'd invested a lot of money, purchased a large stake in the club, sat back and thought his plan one day would be to cash it in, make a bit of money off the back of it. But during the summer, Jack Sullivan went on a podcast with Dodge, and he confirmed it was Daniel Kretinsky that interviewed and employed Tim Steidten. Hello, okay, that's news to me. So Kretinsky's now involved. So I don't think it's a silly thing to suggest that Kretinsky will be involved in deciding whether to sack Lopetegui or to continue with him. And for that reason, I think calling a board meeting 3 days' time allows the majority of them to be able to attend this and have their say. That's reason number one. It's not very exciting, is it? Reason number two, though, and this is the main one, because of David Sullivan. But before we get into that, I just want to point in the direction of today's video sponsors, Manscaped. Now, if you're watching this in the first 12 hours of publication, they've still got their Cyber Monday deal on, where you can grab 25% off everything on their entire website, plus free shipping worldwide. So just go to Manscaped, you get 25% off everything. However, if you're a little bit late or you're not intending on buying anything, but in the future you think, I wish I bought that Manscaped tool, remember the code, HammersChatPubes. It's a memorable code, HammersChatPubes, and you'll get 20% off everything on their website, plus free shipping worldwide. And one benefit they've got at Manscaped that I've never told you about, they've got a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you purchase the Lawnmower 5, which is for shaving your pubic hair, but as I discovered ages ago, but told you the other day, it's good for removing your neck hair in between haircuts. This fluffy bit that us men have, it goes really fluffy, and it's like a ball of cotton wool. Oh, there you go. It works. There you go. Excellent for taking it off. However, get someone to do it for you. Don't do it blind, okay? That's risky. Get someone to do it for you. Then I've got my Weed Whacker, which I've only used once. Disappointed. It's for up your nose and in your ears, and obviously takes the hair off. I did it once. They've all gone, and none of it's grown back. So looks like my ability to grow nose hair is the same as my ability to grow a beard. Non-existent and messy, and don't bother. Anyway, there's my promotion for Manscaped. So I'm talking about getting rid of a manager I don't want, but if you want to get rid of hair you don't want, go to Manscaped. 25% off everything at the moment until 5 a.m. UK time on Thursday morning. Post that, HammersChatPubes is the code you want. So reason number two, why I think there will be a meeting before anything is decided. And it's not necessarily the meeting per se, it's the buying time. I think the meeting gives them 3 days to find a new head coach. We get about 3,000 comments on this channel every month, and I read pretty much all of them, if not all of them. And one of the most common reasons I read in regards to not why we won't sack Lopetegui or David Moyes was the cost. Sullivan won't pay compensation. He's not going to sack him. But I can prove that inaccurate because he sacked Pellegrini, he sacked Slaven Bilic. So he will do it. He will sack a manager and pay them off if he has to. Coincidentally, Pellegrini was sacked after getting beat by Leicester City as well. So Pellegrini's last game in charge of West Ham was Leicester City. So maybe Lopetegui's as well. And a little bit of an iffy fixture for the next guy in charge. So I can prove that David Sullivan will sack a manager if he feels he has to. But there's one thing those two sackings had in common. And it's also applicable to not sacking a different manager at West Ham United. And that is having someone lined up. For whatever reason, David Sullivan does not like going mid-season without a manager. He doesn't like it. If he's going to sack him, he needs to know who the next guy is, and he's already lined up. And I think that's very restrictive, because it sort of restricts you to free agents then. You can't really go tap up a manager in another club when you've still got a manager. I think it makes a difficult negotiation even more difficult and near on impossible. Can you imagine trying to approach Thomas Frank or Marco Silva while you've still got Lopetegui and they're obviously contracted to a different Premier League club? It's just not going to happen, is it? So I think that's why we'll dabble in the free agent. It's a bit of that as well, but it really restricts you. Even if he wanted to change his mentality and pay compensation to get a manager out of his current job, I don't think it's happening. And I think we need to get that guy lined up, and I don't think we've done that yet. I believe we would have had some form of indirect and informal talks regarding some managers like Terzic. He's the one at the top. I wouldn't be surprised if we have approached people in regards to, say, Graham Potter or Sergio Conceição. Is that how you say his name? Those out-employed ones that have been linked to. I wouldn't be surprised we've already put the feelers out to see what they're saying in regards to this potential job. And I think between now and then, they will be looking to get somebody lined up. So if come Friday, they sack Lopetegui, by 24 hours time, West Ham have already announced their new head coach, and it will be somebody who right this very minute is currently unemployed. And I think that's the reason for the delay personally. I think they're just buying time until they can do the negotiations for the next guy and get him in place. So when Loptegui goes, newbies here, and we will never have a game without a head coach in charge. Perhaps a newbie would be employed but not taking charge of the Wolves game, similar to what Van Nistelrooy did and Ruben Amorim did. Slightly different because he wanted to see out his Sporting, say, contract. He didn't really. He wanted to go until the next international break and leave on good terms with Sporting. Slightly different, but it might be that we have the Wolves game with someone else in charge for that one fixture only. And I think that's the real reason for the delay. Of course, there's the possibility they're not going to sack him and that he does get the Wolves game. But I hope that's not the case. I really do hope that's not the case, because you could very quickly find yourself in a really awkward situation, which is we win the game and then we get beat by Bournemouth. And you're in where we are today, we will be there again just in 2 weeks' time. They've got to act. They should have acted during the international break. They chose not to. We're now hitting a period where there's quite a lot of games coming thick and fast. And I think they need to just be decisive. Last night against Leicester, it wasn't the worst performance of the season by any means. I think there was an element of unlucky about it as well. During the first half, I thought if Lopetegui gets his subs right, we go on and win the game. And I still think that's the case. He just got his sub at half-time incorrect. He got it wrong. It wasn't the worst. And if we were sitting mid-table and we'd done all right this season, I would go, bad day at the office last night. On another day, we win that game. But we haven't been. There's only really one game where we've played well in both halves of football, and that was against Ipswich Town. Newcastle, great win, but arguably Newcastle were the better team in the first half. But listen, second half was fantastic, but there hasn't yet been a game where we've been the best side in both halves. Leicester City was the closest we've come to the Ipswich game, and we got beat 3-1. That's why, for me, he has to go. Because Leicester, they're not a good team. They don't have good players, but they still created the better chances than we did. Yes, I know we broke a record for the amount of shots we had, but without scoring in a match until we did score. It doesn't matter to me. Leicester still had the better chances in that game. It's his defensive tactics that seen us get undone by Leicester City. Ruud van Nistelrooy's playbook worked after 90 seconds because Jared Bourne and Vladimir Soufal didn't know what they were doing defensively out of possession. They were lost, and it led to Jamie Vardy going through and goal because of the build-up. And that's why he has to go. And I discovered last night about his father. I wasn't aware of that. And Mark nailed it in the fan cam earlier. I feel sorry for him on a personal level. But it's not like we've been good this season, and then when his dad fell ill, we became crap. We've been crap from the start. We were crap in pre-season for the large majority of it. And that's why he has to go. And that's why the board, in my opinion, have to be decisive and come Friday, thank him for what he did. Because we are not, we're not rock bottom of the Premier League. So the next guy that comes in, we're in an okay position, but we're not far away from being in a bad position, and that's why we have to act. And it's just come to my head, the example regarding David Sullivan requiring the next guy lined up before he sacks him. We go back to the Avram Grant season. We tried to get Martin O'Neill. Martin O'Neill has confirmed it himself. We wanted Martin O'Neill, but he wouldn't come in because we hadn't sacked Avram Grant. So because we were going behind Avram Grant's back, Martin O'Neill didn't want to come in because he thought it was disrespectful, distasteful what they were doing to Avram Grant. Correct. But we tried to replace him. That season, we tried to get another manager lined up before we sacked him. It's just that we failed to do that part of it. So with Pellegrini, with Slaven Bilic, with Avram Grant, 3 examples of us wanting to sack the manager, but we would only do it if we had someone else lined up. And I think that's the situation we're in today. I think possibly Sullivan has conceded defeat and decided we need to sack him, but he ain't going to do it until we got someone to take his place. Who that is, I don't know. We'll discuss that tomorrow. There's a few contenders, a lot of names being bandied around. I'm not blown away by any of them. However, my knowledge on some of them's little to none, so I don't have an opinion on those. But the ones I do know, I'm not like, wow, yeah, get him in. There's no outstanding candidate that's out of work for me. There's plenty that are in work, and that's why I think we have to change our attitude this week in regards to sacking Lopetegui. But we'll deal with that one tomorrow. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me. There you go. Let me know what you think, what you believe in the comments below. If you've enjoyed this video, please do drop a like on by clicking thumbs up. Subscribing to Hammer's Chat. I'll catch up with you tomorrow.